Once again, good morning. Welcome to the Honpa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii's Triple Celebration Buddhist Education Series. My name is Raymond Takiui Jr., and I'll be your MC today. It's my honor today to introduce today's lecturer, Reverend Yuki Sugahara. Reverend Yuki Sugahara became the Ringbang, or Chief Minister of the Sacramento Buddhist Church, Betsuing, on July 1st, 2023. He is originally from the Shimane Prefecture, located just north of Hiroshima. He comes from a temple family on both his father's, Korinji, and mother's Gokurakuji side. Because he was born a son of a temple family, he was able to receive his Tokudo ordination in 1996. He was only a freshman at the time in high school. During Reverend Yuki's junior year in high school, he came to the United States and lived in Rochester, New York for a year as a Rotary Club exchange student to pursue his dream of becoming a translator for the United Nations. Reverend Yuki studied political science at the Ritsumeikan University in Kyoto. During that time, his mother suddenly passed away, and it was shortly after that Reverend Yuki decided to get his Kyoshi certification, which he received in 2002. In 2009, Reverend Yuki came to the United States to attend the International Ministerial Orientation Program, or IMOP, at the the Jodo Shinshu Center in Berkeley, California. Then, in July 2011, he was assigned to the Buddhist Church of Florin. In 2017, to the Oregon Buddhist Temple, and in 2023, to the Sacramento Betsuing. Reverend Yuki also obtained a Bachelor's of Arts in Human Studies with a major in Buddhist Studies from the Musashino University and an MA in Buddhist Studies from the Musashino Grad School. Reverend Yuki's hobbies include playing the bass guitar, and after graduating from the university, he played in a rock band called Jelly Belly. He is also a practitioner of Chinese martial arts, Eagle Claw Kung Fu, and Yang Tai Chi. Well, today's topic is the Kyogyoshinsho, practice. Nembutsu, hear what the Buddhas enjoy. He will focus on one of the passages, the explications of Namo Amida Butsu, from the chapter on practice. Reverend Sugahara will share his presentation for 60 minutes, followed by a question and answer period. During the Q&A, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Please note that we may not be able to answer all of them or pick up all the questions due to time restrictions, but we'll try to do our best to address as many as possible within the allotted time. But without any further ado, I would like to pass the mic to Reverend Sugahara.
Hey, good morning, everybody. And thank you for inviting me as a guest speaker for this lecture series. And I'm really honored to be here today with you. You know, once, I think it was last year, I received this invitation to be a lecturer for Kyogyoshinsho's chapter on practice from Reverend Tomioka. He asked me to be a lecturer for Hawaii Kyoran. So I thought, oh, I'm lucky I can go to Hawaii, right? But he also told me, oh, it's gonna be virtual. You know, that was so disappointing, right? But today I'm at Sacramento Betsuin's office and meeting all of you from Hawaii. And I think this is a great to have this function. We can be able to get together at one place. So thank you very much for having me here today. And I'd like to start sharing the screen. So this is today's contents. You know, even though I gonna focus on the explication of Namo Amida Butsu, that is a passage of Shinran Shonin written in chapter on teaching. But I thought, oh, maybe I should talk about more general idea of what is chapter on practice of Kyogyoshinsho. So I will focus on talking about what is chapter on practice, and then at the end I will talk about explication of Namo Amida Butsu written by Shinran Shonin. And, you know, I didn't want to make something up by saying wrong thing. So most of the explanations of the text comes from one of the teachers I respect, Reverend Jitsen Kakehashi, he wrote a few books on Kyogyoshinsho, and one is called Seiten Seminar, Kyogyoshinsho, chapter on teaching and practice. And another one is called Kyogyoshinsho no Shūkyō Kōzō, religious structure of Kyogyoshinsho. And also, I have relied on one of the collection of the study of Kyogyoshinsho by Shugakuin, Jodo Shinshu Missionary School in Kyoto. So let's move on to the contents of today's lecture. So this is the only chapter. Chapter on teaching is the only chapter which quotes from the writings of all the 7 Pure Land Masters. All the 7 Pure Land Masters. Do you remember all 7 Pure Land Masters' name? Okay, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, they are from India, right? And then Tanwan, Taocho, Shantal, they are from China, and Genshin and Genku or Honen Shonin. So these two are from Japan. So these 7 we call 7 Pure Land Masters. And chapter on teaching is the only chapter Shinran Shonin quotes from all the 7 Pure Land Masters. Or more specifically, this is the only chapter Shinran Shonin quotes from his teacher, Honen Shonin. He quoted the beginning and the conclusion of Honen Shonin's Senjakushu. And many scholars say that this is expressing Shinran Shonin quoted the entire Senjakushu by quoting the beginning and the conclusion of the Senjakushu. But why Shinran Shonin did not quote Honen Shonin's word in the other chapter? So there was a persecution of Nembutsu. A letter from Kofukuji or Kobukuji Temple in Nara Prefecture, written by a monk named Gedatsubo Joke, was submitted to the court. And there are 9 faults of Nembutsu followers pointed out by Kofukuji. But today I will mention few. In the letter, Joke said, faults of disrupting all the good meritorious acts. That was number 4. And number 6, faults of misunderstanding the Pure Land. And number 7, faults of misunderstanding Nembutsu. And faults of number 4 is pointing out that Nembutsu practitioner only rely on the Nembutsu and discard the other practices by saying that they are not the practices to attain birth in the Pure Land. So this, I think we should be careful when we talk with other Buddhists. When I consider the quality and ability of myself, Nembutsu is the only practice for me to attain birth in the Pure Land, but we don't necessarily need to criticize other practices. And probably around Shinran Shonin and Honen Shonin's time, there were followers of Nembutsu who criticized other practices by saying that, oh, it's not the practices that attain birth in the Pure Land, so we don't need it. Then, false on number 5 is pointing out that many masters are discussing the birth in the Pure Land through various practices. Ignoring this is to betray people. That was the point of Joke. So many masters in the past wrote commentaries on attaining birth in the Pure Land, and in there, they talked about various practices. But again, when I consider the ability and quality of myself, Nembutsu is the only practice I am allowed to attain birth in the Pure Land. Then number 6 is pointing out that there are various types of Nembutsu, but choosing only the utterance of the name and discard other is to go against the intent of the Buddha. And there are various Nembutsu. We say Nembutsu, but actually there are various Nembutsu. contemplating the true nature of the Buddha, that is called Nembutsu. Contemplating on the physical features of the Buddha, that is also called Nembutsu. Or even the images of the Buddha, contemplating the images of the Buddha is called Nembutsu too. And reciting the name of the Buddha is Nembutsu, and so forth. So it was Master Shantao who said Nembutsu is to recite the name of Amida Buddha through the Contemplation Sutra. So that was his understanding from the Contemplation Sutra, saying that Nembutsu is to recite the name of Amida Buddha. But considering the original Sanskrit text, if we just read the 18th vow in the larger sutra, Hofukuji's accusation actually has a point, because the 18th vow passage of the original Sanskrit does not limit Nembutsu to the recitation of the name. But Nembutsu was more like to think of the Buddha, to think of the Buddha. Then Master Shantao said, wrong thing? No, that's not true. According to one of the scholars, Reverend Kotatsu Fujita, he's a scholar from Otaniha School, he said, to think and to recite had tight connection in India. To think and to recite had a tight connection in India. So there is no problem understanding Nembutsu as the recitation of the name of the Buddha. So these were some points Kofukuji Temple argued and criticized the Nembutsu followers. And today you just see the pictures of Joke and Kofukuji Temple, but I'm sure you're gonna receive the PowerPoint slide with my note on it, so you can see what I was talking about later on. Or maybe you have it in your hand right now. So Kofukuji's letter was not only direct cause for the court to ban the Nembutsu teaching, but eventually the court decided to exile Honen Shonin, Shinran Shonin, and other disciples of Honen Shonin. Then another persecution of the Nembutsu occurred in 1227. But 3 years before that, in 1224, Enryakuji Temple in Mount Hiei submitted the letter to the court requesting to ban the Nembutsu. So point of argument is almost identical with the letter submitted by Hofukuji. But to refute this letter, Shinran Shonin had to compose Kyogyoshinsho. And it was 13th year memorial of Honen Shonin in 1224. So this is one of the reasons Shinran Shonin had to state that he wrote Kyogyoshinsho in 1224. It was to refute all the criticism against Nembutsu and to honor his teacher on this occasion of the 13th year memorial. So because of this, we consider 1224 as the founding year of Jodo Shinshu, and we are celebrating 800th anniversary of establishment of Jodo Shinshu. So by the way, in 1227, warrior monk, just like the picture, warrior monk of Mount Hiei tried to unearth the gravesite of Honen Shonin and throw the body into Kamo River. But this act was prevented by the followers of Nembutsu. But some of the Nembutsu followers were exiled after this incident. So this is what was happening around Nembutsu followers. So to sum up why Shinran Shonin needed to compose Kyogyoshinsho, Shinran Shonin needed to prove how Honen Shonin's teaching of Nembutsu is correct path of the Pure Land Way. And Shinran Shonin is one of the 6 disciples who were allowed to copy Honen Shonin's Senjakushu. And also, he was allowed to copy the portrait of Honen Shonin. At that time, allowing to create copy of the portrait meant the teacher admitted the student as a legitimate successor. So as a successor of the teaching of Nembutsu, Shinran Shonin needed to prove his teacher's teaching. And to prove Honen Shonin's teaching, Shinran Shonin could not use Honen Shonin's word because what is written in Senjakushu is what Shinran Shonin wanted to defend. So he needed to choose the form as collection of the passages revealing the true teaching, practice, shinjin, and realization of the Pure Land Way to defend Honen Shonin's teaching. So Kakehashi Sensei said that the reason Shinran Shonin quoted the Senjakushu only in this chapter of teaching is to reveal the essence of the Nembutsu selected in the primal vow and to prove the correctness of the teaching of Nembutsu. So this is what is written at the beginning of chapter on teaching of Kyogyoshinsho. So last chapter, which Reverend Wandra gave the lecture, chapter on teaching revealed the true teaching. And the true teaching is the larger sutra. The larger sutra shares the teaching which Shakyamuni Buddha's true intent of appearing in this world. And the true intent was to share the teaching which saves all beings from this ocean of birth and death, or samsara. And the teaching which benefits and saves all beings is the Nembutsu teaching. That was the larger sutra. So chapters following chapter on teaching is based on the true teaching taught in the larger sutra. And each chapters discuss what is the true practice, true shinjin, and true realization of the Pure Land Way. So this chapter discusses the true practice of the Pure Land Way, and Shinran Shonin listed the name of the vow at the beginning of this chapter. So Shinran Shonin said, the vow that all the Buddhas says the name. And this is referring to the 17th vow of Amida Buddha. But he also mentions that this is the true practice of the Pure Land Way and the practice selected in the primal vow. So before getting into the detail, I would like to briefly talk about what is the practice in Buddhism. What is the practice in Buddhism? So in Sanskrit, practice is either charya or pratipatti. And charya means proceeding, behavior, or conduct. And pratipatti, gaining, obtaining, or acquiring. And it is also explained as Jodo Shinshu in Chinese characters or kanji characters. It means to act and to proceed. So practice is the act which moves practitioner toward attainment of nirvana. That is what practice is in Buddhism. So I'm sure you have heard of this before, but there are two paths of sages and the Pure Land path. And in the path of sages, the acts are accomplished through self-effort. Through practice, practitioners move toward nirvana little by little. To do this, practitioner needs to keep precepts to purify oneself, calm oneself through meditation, and then finally practice works as practice. But in Jodo Shinshu, this is not the case. Because we live in daily life filled with worldly desires, and we act with self-centered values of what is good and bad, love and hate. It is impossible for us to purify our body and mind and calm ourselves to practice, to proceed toward attainment of nirvana. So then, what is practice which moves us towards nirvana in our tradition, Jodo Shinshu? So this is the main discussion of this chapter of practice. So let's read the first section of the chapter on practice. And this is the important part of this chapter. And Shinran Shonin said, reverently contemplating Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth to the Pure Land, I find that there is great practice, there is great shinjin. So Shinran Shonin is teaching us that the practice and shinjin, entrusting heart, are Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth to the Pure Land. So we are receiving the great practice and great shinjin from Amida Buddha. And since this chapter is chapter on true practice of the Pure Land way, Shinran Shonin could begin this chapter just by saying, to reveal the true practice, and he didn't need to mention the shinjin, entrusting heart in this chapter. But instead, he also mentions great shinjin along with great practice. So probably many people wonder, why is that? And this is because practice and shinjin is inseparable. In one of the letters, Shinran Shonin said, practice of Nembutsu is to say it perhaps once, perhaps 10 times. On hearing and realizing that birth into the Pure Land is attained by saying the name fulfilled in the primal vow. To hear this vow and be completely without doubt is a one moment of shinjin. Thus, although shinjin and Nembutsu are two, since shinjin is to hear and not doubt that you are saved by only a single pronouncing, which is the fulfillment of practice, there is no shinjin separate from Nembutsu. This is the teaching I have received. You should know further that there can be no Nembutsu separate from shinjin. So, Amida Buddha calls us in Nembutsu, entrust yourself and say my name, and I will unfailingly bring you to the attainment of the birth in my land. So we accept this calling of Amida and recite the name of Amida Buddha. So Nembutsu is the figure of us receiving the calling of Amida and verbally reciting the name. And Shinjin, or entrusting heart, is the figure of us receiving the calling of Amida Buddha in our heart. And both come from the working of Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth to the Pure Land. And practice and entrusting heart, shinjin, is inseparable. That is why Shinran Shonin mentions the great shinjin in this chapter. But, detailed discussion of great shinjin is next chapter. And you have Reverend Kuwahara lined up for the lecturer. He is a great teacher, so I'm sure you learn a lot about shinjin next time. So then, Shinran Shonin discusses, what is great practice? What is great practice? So that Shinran Shonin said, the great practice is to say the name of the Tathagata of unhindered light. This practice, embodying all good acts and possessing all roots of virtue, is perfect and most rapid in bringing them to fullness. It is the treasure ocean of virtues that is suchness or true reality. For this reason, it is called great practice. So Shinran Shonin clarifies that the great practice is to say the name of the Tathagata of unhindered light. And this great practice possesses the three virtues. One, Nembutsu, embodying all good acts and possess all roots of virtues. So compared to another practices, the quantity or amount of virtue is great. So Nembutsu possesses the great virtue. And second, Nembutsu quickly fulfill the attainment of birth in the Pure Land because it possesses all the roots of good. So this metaphor is coming from Senjakushu, Honen Shonin's main writing. But any other practices are like beams or pillars of a house. But Nembutsu is a house itself. So other practices are like beams or pillar, which is needed, right? But Nembutsu is a house itself. So Nembutsu possesses the great virtue of the working compared to any other practices. So in this sense, Nembutsu is called great practice. So working is great. That is why Nembutsu is called great practice. And third, Nembutsu possesses the great wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha, embracing us regardless of our abilities or qualities. So this working of Amida Buddha is vast and boundless. That is why Nembutsu is great practice. And as I mentioned, I have put probably, I don't remember if I put this, but I have put many notes on the slides. So once you receive the PDF file, you can read the notes and probably you can learn a little bit more about great practice. So Shinran Shonin could say that the great practice is to say the name of Amida Buddha. But instead, he said it is to say the name of Tathagata of unhindered light. And this comes from Master Tanlan's commentary on Vasubandhu's treatise on the Pure Land. And in there, Master Tanlan said, one says the name of the Tathagata in accord with the Tathagata's light, which is the embodiment of wisdom. One wishes to be in correspondence with the significance of the name by practicing in accord with reality. This is Vasubandhu's word. And Master Tanlan comments on this. One says the name of the Tathagata means to say the name of the Tathagata of unhindered light. So Kakehashi Sensei said that Shinran Shonin wanted to reveal three things by relying on this passage of Master Tanlan. First, the Nembutsu of the primal vow is the practice of praising the virtue of the Buddha. And second, the name Tathagata of unhindered light, filling the 10 quarters, possesses the virtue of breaking the ignorance and fulfilling the aspiration of the beings to attain birth in the Pure Land. And lastly, if Shinran Shonin just said great practice is to say Namo Amida Butsu, we cannot distinguish whether it is self-power Nembutsu or other power Nembutsu. But by relying on this passage, the Nembutsu, which is the great practice, is the Nembutsu, which is in correspondence with the significance of the name, and Nembutsu of other power, which possesses the entrusting heart. So Nembutsu is great practice because it praises the virtue of the Buddha, and it breaks the ignorance and fulfill the attainment of birth in the Pure Land, and it is other power. And excuse me for a second. I don't know about Hawaii right now, but Sacramento is so dry. So once we talk too much, I get thirsty. But moving on to the next section. So Shinran Shonin said, This practice arises from the vow of great compassion, which is known as the vow that all the Buddhas extol the name, the vow that all the Buddhas seize the name, and the vow that all the Buddhas praise the name. It might also be called the vow of directing virtue for our going forth, and the vow in which the saying of the name is selected. And I would like to read this passage thoroughly, but it takes too much time. And probably if scholars in Ryukoku University lectures Kyogyoshinsho, it takes years to finish all the, Kyogyoshinsho. And chapter on practice is such an important chapter that I'm sure scholars in Ryukoku University takes a lot of time explaining this passage too. But today, my time is limited, so speeding up a little bit. So Shinran Shonin lists various names of the 17th vow in this section. And the 17th vow passage is quoted in the next section. So I will share the 17th vow passage. The 17th vow states, if when I attain Buddhahood, the countless Buddhas throughout the world is in the 10 quarters, do not all praise and say my name, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment. So after this 17th vow passage, Shinran Shonin quotes a passage from Juseige, fulfillment passage of the 17th vow. These are from the Raja Sutra, Wei translation. And then he quotes different Chinese translations of the Raja Sutra, followed by the quotes from the Seven Pyaran Masters and other masters. So Shinran Shonin was very, very well-balanced scholar who do not rely on one single text. And because of his tremendous efforts to study and share the teaching of Nembutsu, we are able to hear the teaching of Nembutsu even in the 21st century and even online. But anyway, Amida Buddha vowed that the name of Amida Buddha will be uttered and praised by countless Buddhas. And I had put fulfillment passage in the note of the slide, but the fulfillment passage states that all the Buddhas are now praising the majestic virtue of Amida Buddha. And since Shinran Shonin listed all the different names of the 17th vow, I should have explained all the names, but I don't have time for that today, as I mentioned, that among these names for the 17th vow, I would like to focus on the name, the vow that all the Buddhas praise the name, the vow that all the Buddhas praises the name. So, Jodo Shinshu scholars, including Kakehashi Sensei, often say this, but to praise someone, we need to know why we are praising and what we are praising. Again, to praise somebody, we need to know why we are praising and what we are praising. So when my son was about 4 years old, he's 7 now, but I took him to see NBA game. So he liked watching sports. He likes soccer, basketball, and baseball, and any kind of sports, even small, right? But he was not sure which teams we are cheering for. He was only 4 years old. And when we cheer up for the, when we cheer up the team for, he doesn't know, right? So every basket any teams made, he was saying like, oh yeah, good job. So he obviously didn't know what to praise for, right? Maybe this was not a good example, but sometimes I am asked by my wife, do you notice the difference today? Do you notice the difference today, right? This is probably the most scariest moment for most of the husbands, right? But I can guess and say that You changed the eyeshadow, but if I am correct, she's happy. But if I don't get the answer correct, she's not happy. So if I compliment her too much, she doubts me, right? If I don't compliment her much, then she's not happy, right? How difficult married life is, right? So praising somebody is really difficult. Praising somebody is really difficult. We should know why and what we are praising about the person. And it is impossible for us, ordinary beings possessed of afflictions, to know the virtues of Buddha thoroughly. So Shinran Shonin said in abbreviated version of Kyogyoshinsho titled Passages on the Pure Way, he said, 如来の功徳はただ仏のみ知りたまえり。Only Buddhas can fathom the virtue of Amida Tathagata. So this is the reason Amida Buddha vowed the name of Amida will be praised by the Buddhas, and not by us, not by ordinary beings. The name which are praised by the Buddhas are now heard by all beings. So in Juseige, it said, 妙正長実法空教未正門 My name shall pervade the 10 quarters. There will be no place where my name is not heard. So, I was thinking about an easy example to understand this 17th vow, but there are websites reviewed by customers and showing how the customers reviewed the restaurants or store or even temples, right? So this is what we can find about Sacramento Betsin on Google Map. And I don't know who gave the 2 stars, but mostly we received 5 stars and 4.7 out of 53 reviews. Nowadays, when we look for restaurants or something, we rely on the numbers of reviews and how many stars they got. Don't you do that? I often do it, right? So my wife and I like to visit cafes. And when we lived in Portland, Oregon, that was fun. They have a lot of very nice cafes. So on my day offs, we dropped kids off school and looked online and found new cafes to visit. And, because we didn't know which cafe is good, we relied on the stars and reviews on the websites. So I thought this is the similar feelings of the 17th vow. Amida Buddha received 5 stars from the countless Buddhas of all directions. So all the Buddhas posting a review on Amida Buddha's working, right? Praising the Namo Amida Butsu. When we visited a place where we are amazed, right? We recommend the place to somebody, right? So just like this, all the Buddhas, including Shakyamuni Buddha, are recommending us the working of Amida Buddha in Nembutsu. They are teaching us that, don't worry. Just entrust yourself to the working of Amida Buddha and you'll be fine. I hope this metaphor makes sense, okay? Then, we will skip a lot of sections in chapter on practice. There are a lot of important sections in chapter on practice, but Shinran Shonin wrote explications of Namo Amida Butsu in this chapter, and that is something I wanted to talk about today. So, explication of Namo Amida Butsu. So, he said, from these passages, we see that the word Namo means to take refuge. In the term to take refuge, kimyo, ki means to arrive at. Further, it is used in compounds to mean to yield joyfully to, kietsu. and to take shelter in, kisai. Myo means to act, to invite, to command, to teach, path, message, to devise, to summon. Thus, kimyo is the command of the primal vow, calling to and summoning us. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the collection of the passages revealing the true practice. So Shinran Shonin rarely discusses his own interpretation. But this is one of the rare sections where Shinran Shonin discusses his own interpretation. That is why this section is really important. And before this section, Shinran Shonin quotes the passage from Master Shantao on explication of Namo Amida Butsu. And Master Shantao said, Namu means to take refuge. Namo means to take refuge. It further signifies aspiring for birth and directing virtue. Amida Butsu is the practice. Because of this import, one necessarily attains birth. So around Master Shantao's time, there was a criticism against Nembutsu from other school, saying that Nembutsu only possesses the aspiration and no practice. Nembutsu only possesses the aspiration of a practitioner to attain birth, and there is no practice. So Master Shantao needed to explain how Nembutsu possesses both aspiration and practice to refute the criticism. And I have put it in the note, so please read it when you have time. But Shinran Shonin's teacher, Honen Shonin, quoted this passage of Master Shantao to prove that Nembutsu is a practice of not directing virtue, ueko, not directing virtue. And simply, Honen Shonin said that the practices other than Nembutsu are not the practice to attain birth in the Pure Land. So the practitioner need to direct the merit to attain birth. But Nembutsu is the practice selected in the primal vow. So it is essentially the practice to attain birth into the Pure Land. So we do not need to direct the merit to attain birth. That is why it is called the practice of not directing virtue. So to prove this, Honen Shonin quoted Master Shantao's passage in his Senjakushu. But now, Shinran Shonin quoted this passage in chapter on practice to reveal the structure of the working of Namo Amida Butsu. So he put detailed explanation of Master Shantao's interpretation. So I wish I had more time to talk about this in detail, but time is running out. But simply, Shinran Shonin defined Namo Amida Butsu as the calling of Amida Buddha summoning us. And I did not put it in this slide because I did not have space, but Shinran Shonin also said that Namo Amida Butsu is the practice selected in the primal vow, and it is the practice directed to us from Amida Buddha. So Nembutsu is the great practice, and not because we pronounce it, it's not because we pronounced it, it is great practice. That's not the understanding, right? But it is the practice directed to us from Amida Buddha. That is why Nembutsu is great practice. It contains countless virtues for us to attain birth in the Pure Land, and it is Amida Buddha's calling to summoning us. And Nembutsu is also the calling or recommendation of all the Buddhas, including Shakyamuni Buddha. So after this lecture, you can go back to your temple and ask your ministers about this explication of Namo Amida Butsu. So, I just throw this out and, assign the responsibility to all the ministers. But I'd like to share my appreciation of this explication of Namo Amida Butsu to conclude my lecture. But in English, it is not translated. I don't know why. Probably, the space was limited, or, Shinran Shonin is explaining the meaning of the kanji characters. So probably the translator thought, oh, maybe this is too much. I don't know. But the original text said, Shinran Shonin put note saying that this character, setsu, is echi or yorokobu oto, echi on, etsu on. So sound of joy. Setsu is the sound of joy. So then I thought that, we see this character in one of the most important texts of our tradition. Do you know what? That is the Three Pure Land Sutras. Three Pure Land Sutras. 仏説無量儒教、仏説漢無量儒教、and 仏説阿弥陀経。The first two characters, 仏説, is often translated as delivered by the Buddha, delivered by Buddha. So for instance, 仏説無量儒教 is translated as Sutra on the Buddha of immeasurable life, delivered by Buddha Shakyamuni. But, considering what I talked about today, and considering the wish of all the Buddhas, I thought this kanji character could understand as the sound of joy, just like Shinran Shonin did. Shinran Shonin explained setsu means the sound of joy. And we can understand bussetsu as the sound of joy of the Buddha, sound of the joy of the Buddha. So then we can see why Shakyamuni Buddha seemed so happy when he was about to share the teaching of Nembutsu. Because this teaching of Nembutsu unfailingly brings beings to the fruition of the attainment of Buddhahood, attainment of nirvana. That is the wish of all the Buddhas, to bring beings to the attainment of Buddhahood, right? So I can see why Shakyamuni Buddha seemed so happy. And now, when we chant sutras, we are hearing the sound of joy of the Buddha. We often chant Juseige and Sambutsuge, but they are coming from the larger sutra, the sound of joy of the Buddha on the Buddha of immeasurable life, right? So when we recite Nembutsu, we are hearing the joy of recommendation of all the Buddhas and the calling of Amida Buddha. So minister from 19th century named Shinsui Haraguchi Shinsui Wajo, he left a poem like this. 我唱え、我聞くなれど名も阿弥陀。連れて行くぞの親の呼び声。我唱え、我聞くなれど名も阿弥陀。連れて行くぞの親の呼び声。Though I say and hear Namo Amida Butsu, it is the calling voice of the Buddha to take you to the Pure Land. Though I say and hear Namo Amida, it is the calling voice of the Buddha to take you to the Pure Land. So even though we are reciting Namo Amida Butsu, we are hearing the sound of joy of the Buddha in Nembutsu. So that is why I really like this chapter on teaching. It teaches me what I am receiving from the Buddhas, and I'm receiving what Buddhas enjoy. We are Buddhists, right? So we are the student of the Buddha. So we are happy to receive what our teachers enjoy. So this is what I appreciate for the Nembutsu teaching. And this is actually what I prepared for today's lecture. I still have like a 15 minutes. I thought it's gonna be like an hour and a little bit, but probably I talked a little bit faster than what I prepared. But hopefully this was something helpful to understand and appreciate the chapter on teaching, not chapter on teaching, chapter on practice of Kyogyoshinsho written by Shinran Shonin. So thank you for all being here today. And I guess I didn't start the lecture with Gassho and Nembutsu, but I guess I should finish the lecture with Gassho and Nembutsu. And as I mentioned, Nembutsu is the sound of joy of the Buddha, recommending us the teaching of Namo Amida Butsu. And it is the calling of Amida Buddha to take us to the Pure Land. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Nam. Nam. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Sugahara. We're finishing a little bit early, but we can take a 5-minute break. So please return back to your place. Maybe about why don't we say 11 o'clock? We give it a little bit longer, that we kind of get back on schedule. And if you have anyone out there, if there's anyone out there that has any questions for Reverend Sugahara, you can enter those in the chat, and we'll get to those once we come back from our break. So let's return back at about 11 o'clock. It's about 8 minutes from now. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everybody had a nice break. Now we're going to move on to the question and answer. I'm looking at the chat here. Here's one. It says, thank you for sharing the true essence of the Nembutsu. Sometimes there is a comment that says Nembutsu or Namo Amida Butsu is thank you. What is your thought?
Yeah, I see that that is from Tomioka Sensei probably. Yeah. I hear the expression often, and I believe some of the ministers in BCA also say that too. Actually, BCA's slogan, if you go BCA's website, I'm sure you know BCA is BCA Buddhist Churches of America, right? Their website said life of gratitude, right? And then it's okay, I think, to say that we are thanking someone or thanking Buddha. But if we just say thank you, we don't know what we are thanking for, what we are being grateful for. So I think as Shinran Shonin said, to hear is to hear the origin and fulfillment of the primal vow. That is really important part of the Jodo Shinshu. We need to hear the origin and fulfillment of the primal vow. And because we hear the origin and fulfillment of the vow, feeling of gratefulness and gratitude arises in our heart. So we cannot miss this part and just say that, oh, Namo Amida Butsu means thank you. So we just say Namo Amida Butsu instead of saying thank you, right? I hope I'm making the point. The important part is to hear the origin and fulfillment of the primal vow. So even though it contains the meaning of thank you, but we are thanking Amida Buddha for Amida Buddha's great wisdom and compassion to grasp and never abandon us because of our nature of being possessed of afflictions such as greed, anger, ignorance, envy, and so on. So I hope I answered Tomioka Sensei's question.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me personally, a lot of times when they say, thank you, in Buddhism, we talk a lot about the interdependence and their dependent origination. So, I think I guess being able to refocus on the primal vow is important as well too. So thank you. Let's see. Were there any other questions? Anyone else had? Oh, here. Let's see. Dave Atchison. Um, Mahalo for the excellent lecture. Can you provide a way for us to think about the relationship to the Pure Land uh, for all those who came before Shakyamuni and Shinran, and also those contemporaries who did not encounter Buddhism or Shinran's understanding of the great practice?
Interesting question. Yeah, thank you, David. We often hear that, it's not us who judges who went where. It is Amida Buddha's working or Amida Buddha's job to decide or, judge it, not judge, but, it is Amida Buddha's working. So it is not us who say that, oh, that person didn't go Pure Land or this person went Pure Land. But I personally likes the understanding of Shinran Shonin. I think it is in Jodo Wasan, but he talks about he just lists the name of the people who appears in the Contemplation Sutra. And in there, he praises Devadatta as the sage. Devadatta as a sage. And Devadatta is a cousin of Shakyamuni Buddha, but he was so envy of Shakyamuni Buddha, being so popular and, not receiving something as popular as Shakyamuni Buddha. Devadatta was so envy of Shakyamuni Buddha. So he tried to kill Shakyamuni Buddha a few times. And, actually, it is said he deviated from Shakyamuni Buddha's Sangha, bringing like few disciples of Shakyamuni Buddha. But anyway, Devadatta was the one who told Prince Ajatasattu the secret or birth of Prince Ajatasattu. And then, Ajatasattu was so upset hearing the how his life came about. And then he imprisoned his father. And then, eventually he killed his father, right? So Devadatta is probably not considered as a sage from the point of view that he was the one who tried to kill Shakyamuni Buddha and so forth. But Shinran Shonin said Devadatta is a sage who appeared from the Pure Land. So the reason is that if Devadatta did not, talk about the secret of birth to Prince Ajatasattu, there was no chance of us listening the teaching of the Contemplation Sutra and the teaching of Nembutsu. So Shinran Shonin understood, oh, because of Devadatta, we are now being able to listen to the teaching of Nembutsu. So, we can understand everybody around us as the sage or the bodhisattvas who have appeared from the Pure Land. And, they are guiding me to walk this path of Nembutsu. So, even though the people who came before Shakyamuni or Shinran Shonin, we can understand that, they appeared in this world to guide us to the teaching of Nembutsu. I hope this makes sense.
Thank you. You were mentioning before about, there were numerous and I guess countless Buddhas, right? So you had Buddhas prior to Amida, right? And
Amida Buddha, there is no beginning, no
beginning,
end.
no
That
end.
is,
So
yeah, right.
there were
So
Buddhas before as well too.
Shakyamuni Buddha for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Shakyamuni Buddha for sure. But I mean, like they had talk about you know, Lokas Vaharaja and all the other Buddhas and stuff like that before. And then in the future, they also talk about Maitreya and everything like that. So, would, could it be said that maybe there you had Buddhas before, for people that came before Shakyamuni, that they would have had some encounter or some way to, some Buddha before them to be able to find a path with maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm. Were there any other questions from anyone out there? You can either put in the chat, would probably be easiest.
Maybe everybody's hungry.
I think everybody's, yeah, it's about 11 o'clock or 11:10 over here. Okay, here we go. Let's see. This is from Reverend Kamuro. What do you think about the relationship between Nembutsu and Shinjin? This is related to Reverend Tomioka's question regarding the Nembutsu of gratitude. Hoon no Nembutsu, Shin in Shoho. Solely saying the Tathagata's name constantly, one should respond with the gratitude to the universal vow of great compassion from collected verse of Shinran 71 and Shoshinge. Nagarjuna.
Yeah. As Kamuro Sensei said, Shinjin, Shoin, Shomyo, Hon. Shinjin is the true cause for our attainment of birth. And Nembutsu, recitation of the Nembutsu is to, let's say, Hon, Shomyo, Hon, expressing our gratitude to Amida Buddhas for grasping us and never abandoning us. That is Shomyo Hon. So, as I mentioned in the lecture, I think Shinran Shonin's understanding is that Nembutsu, we are receiving the name Namo Amida Butsu. We are receiving the working of the name Namo Amida Butsu. And it appears verbally as Nembutsu. And when we receive it in our heart, that becomes our Shinjin. So Namo Amida Butsu is the calling of Amida Buddha, as teaching us that entrust yourself to my working, recite Nembutsu, and be born into my Pure Land. And you don't need to worry about anything. That is the calling of Amida Buddha. So we just receive Amida Buddha's calling in our heart. That becomes our Shinjin, and that becomes our true cause for attainment of birth. And then we recite Nembutsu to respond to the great compassion of Amida Buddha. So that becomes our Nembutsu. So this is how I understand the relationship of Shinjin and Nembutsu. I think that is it, and I hope I explained it. Yeah. Sensei has hard questions.
Raymond.
Yes.
Raymond, this
Yeah.
is Judy Muromoto Jikoing.
Hi.
I just wanted to tell the sensei thank you for his session, but more so, I didn't realize that Kyogyoshinsho was so involved that this work was because he Shinran Shonin was refuting all the naysayers and to propagate the teachings and the learnings that he had from Honin Shonin. But I just didn't realize that all the things that all the reverends repeat during service or share with us. I just kind of pictured maybe Shinran Shonin sitting in an open room writing things, but not knowing that he was undergoing so much suffering and trying to keep the teachings alive and to perpetuate it, but and I hope I got the gist right, the main idea. And so to that, I say thank you, and thank you for everybody as well. Mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo, Judy-san. And I think detailed explanation of the chapter on practice is probably really important. But what I wanted to say today is the last part of my talk, and understanding the kanji character setsu as the sound of joy, and we are receiving the sound of joy from the Buddha. So just as we recommend somebody, I like. Let's see, I like playing bass guitar, and I like some bands, and I think it was last month, just a month ago, I went to see Hiromi Uehara. She's a famous jazz pianist. She played with one of the bass players, famous bass players like Stanley Clarke. But I really loved Hiromi. So once I listened to her CD, I told everybody, "Oh, you should listen, Hiromi. She's so great, right?" So because I enjoyed Hiromi, I recommend it to everybody. That's the same for Buddhas. Buddha enjoys the teaching of Nembutsu. So, Buddha shares the teaching of Nembutsu. Shinran Shonin, same thing. He enjoyed the teaching of Nembutsu. So he shares his joy. Yeah, I'm sure he suffered, but more I see his joy in Kyogyoshinsho, of sharing the sound of joy of the Buddha. So yeah, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it kind of brings back to me like how, Shinran, when he was writing all of these works, he thought that he wasn't trying to start a new sect of Buddhism, but he felt like he was, trying to defend Honen's teachings. But as once they had were exiled to the two different parts of Japan, his clarification started to kind of take off and develop its own branch. So it's interesting to hear how, like she said, like was said, it seemed like he was defending against all of these, persecutions from other sects of Buddhism. But I also like the fact that, you talked about there, Buddhism has so many different paths, uh, to achieve, our end, that, it's not our place to say your teaching is wrong or your teaching is more right or whatever, right? The Buddha had said that, it's, make of yourself your own light. And Shinran had also said, the teaching is only for me, not for anybody else. So it's hard to really, condemn somebody else, but historically it hasn't necessarily been the case.
Yeah. I often use the metaphor of the medicine. Some people like Advil and some people may like a Tylenol or something, right? And the people doesn't say, "Oh, you are taking Advil. Cannot believe it. You should take Tylenol," right?
Yeah.
Criticizing other practices is just as ignorant like that. So I think Nembutsu works for me, and I am appreciative of Amida Buddha's working, and that's it. We don't need to talk about other practice or criticize other practices.
Okay. Reverend Baba had a question. If you could explain to everyone how Shinran Shonin had selected his 7 masters.
Yeah, please ask your ministers. But Shinran Shonin selected 7 Pure Land masters by if they have writings on the Pure Land teaching, and if they were aspirants of the pure attainment of the birth in the Pure Land, and if they had unique, teaching on the Nembutsu or that Pure Land teaching. That was one of the 3 reasons Shinran Shonin selected these Pure Land masters. And if you have a translation of Senjakushu, Senchaku Hongan Nembutsu, in Jodo Shinshu, we call it Senjaku Nembutsu Hongan, Senjaku Hongan Nembutsu. Jodo Shu, they call it Senchaku Hongan Nembutsu. And BDK translated the Senjakushu into English. And in there, you will see the lineage Honen Shonin talks about, lineage of Pure Land Path. But the names are so different from Shinran Shonin's. So you will see the difference of Honen Shonin's understanding of lineage and Shinran Shonin's understanding of lineage. But it doesn't mean that Shinran Shonin and Honen Shonin had a different understanding. But it's just a matter of who they listed as who was listed as the lineage. But Shinran Shonin, he has more appreciation to all the 7 Pure Land masters compared to Honen Shonin, I think. Because Honen Shonin, at the in the Senjakushu, he said that solely rely on Master Shantao, right? So I think Shinran Shonin has more appreciation towards other masters of the Pure Land path. It doesn't mean Honen Shonin didn't have appreciation, but yeah.
I guess related to that, is there a reason why only 7? I would think, as different people start building on, different, the previous teacher, maybe if the, you know, was seven like uh, any particular reason for just seven, I guess.
Oh, number 7.
Oh.
I wish I knew the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
now in Shoshinge he lists 7 Pure Land Masters, and we have 7 Pure Land Masters scrolls. But in Kyogyoshinsho and any other writings of Shinran Shonin, he also mentions other masters' writings and understandings too. So I believe these 7 were particularly important, and other masters who Shinran Shonin mentions in other writings. Like a disciple Master Shantao, or kind of something like that. So I think that is one of the reasons he only picked 7.
Then there was another question in the comments that just came up. Let's see. Can you define taking refuge in Amida Buddha? What is, I guess, the refuge when you say refuge?
Yeah, I think that is under interpretation. And take refuge, original word is kimyo or namo, and it is also translated as go to guidance. When we read 3 treasures, sometimes it is translated as I go to the guidance of the Buddha or something like that. But taking refuge or kimyo, you can understand in different ways. One understanding I like is the understanding of the Myokongin Genza from Tottori Prefecture. He, often recited Nembutsu, Nammandab, Nammandab. And also he said, Yokoso, Yokoso. Yokoso means like welcome, welcome. And, Namo Amida Butsu's Namo, in original Sanskrit, it is namas. And namas has the meaning of salutation. Salutation means acknowledging the arrival of somebody, acknowledging somebody's arrival. That is, a salutation. So namas, kimyo, or take refuge, that has the meaning of welcoming the working of the Buddha. So, to me, Namo Amida Butsu means like, oh, I am welcoming Amida Buddha's working. And because of this Amida Buddha's working, I am able to attain birth in the Pure Land in the future. So, I appreciate Amida Buddha's working with gratitude. So take refuge. Maybe we have a better translation for it, but I like Genza's understanding.
I've heard it before, like maybe entrust in the vow, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for your question, Mary.
And can I mention one more thing? Regarding taking refuge, I talked about explication of Namo Amida Butsu from chapter on practice of Kyogyoshinsho today. There is also explication of Namo Amida Butsu by Shinran Shonin in one of his writings called Notes on Inscriptions of Sacred Scrolls, Songo Shinzo Memo. So I had put the original text and English translation on the slide note. So please look at it and see his interpretation too. Chapter on practice, explication of Namo Amida Butsu is from Amida Buddha's side. But notes on the inscription on sacred scroll, explication of Namo Amida Butsu is from our side. So you will see what Shinran Shonin understanding is. So I hope that helps too.
Okay, we're coming up on 11:30. So does anyone have any last question? Okay. If not, Reverend Sugahara, did you have any final thoughts for us?
Well, yeah, thank you very much for inviting me again. I wish I was in Hawaii, but I could feel Hawaii, being here today. So I hope I will have a chance to see you. If you are coming to mainland, please stop by at the Sacramento Betsu, and I'm sure we can talk about Nembutsu teaching and enjoy the Nembutsu teaching together here in Sacramento. So, yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is Mary again. I just want to, the word refuge always is a stumbling block for us when we try to explain to people, because refuge seems that we are seeking a safe place. But this is the difference, I think, between Honen's teaching and Shinran's teaching, where, we give to receive merit. Shinran is basically saying that we receive, effectively in your explanation, that we receive all of these merits and teachings and compassion, etc. So the thing is, maybe we need to get rid of that word refuge. Again, when you use the word refuge, it is us that are seeking to go to a safe place. But I think it's the other way around.
Well, yeah. In Buddhism, we talk about karma, and karma binds us to samsara. And I imagine, being the dog or something, we are leashed in this samsara, so we cannot we can just move around the samsara, transmigration. But because of the working of Amida Buddha, now I can travel to different place, right? I just ride on the working of Amida Buddha and go to the realm of enlightenment. So in this sense, I can say, maybe I can understand taking refuge, but as you mentioned, yeah, taking refuge sometimes don't make sense to me either. So when I translate Namo Amida Butsu, I try not to use take refuge, but use I go to guidance, or as I mentioned, namas means salutation too. So from my side, our side, we can say that we are welcoming the working of Amida Buddha. But there's an interpretation from Buddha's side too. So please ask your minister.
Maybe if you can talk with your minister, and if you have any suggestions as far as maybe the translation, you can maybe bring it up and can maybe talk about it or something in some future time or something. That'd be kind of interesting to modernize the language.
Yeah, the directional thing, and
Yeah.
Shinran always reversed the direction of his teaching. Where we're thinking one way, he always reverses it and it always comes back the other way. And that's, I think, the brilliance and beauty of Shinran.
Yeah, thank you, Mary-san. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Well, thank you, Reverend Sugahara, for attending, and everyone for attending today's lecture. I hope that everyone participating has found it very informative and meaningful. And I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude for you putting on this lecture. Your insights, I think, got us all thinking about our topic for today. And thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us for this triple celebration series that we've been putting on. If you're interested in our organization, please visit our website through either the QR code that's on the screen there, or you can also search for Honpa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii. And the spelling is there on the screen if you can't scan it. And if you have any questions about our triple celebration, please contact us at triple.celebration. That's a triple celebration right there. The 850th anniversary of the birth of Shinran, 800 of the establishment of Jodo Shinshu, and the 130th anniversary of the Honpa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii. That's a triple celebration. If you'd like to have any, if you have any other questions about it, please contact us at the email address there on the screen, or you can also scan the QR code there on the screen now. Our series is scheduled monthly on Saturdays, either at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. Please refer to the flyer for more details. And the next lecture is scheduled for Saturday, June 22nd at 10 a.m. And the lecturer will be Reverend Kiyonobu Kuwahara, a minister at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple and also the Jodo Shinshu International Office. He'll also be continuing the talk on the theme of the Kyogyoshinsho, Shinjing, Entrusting Heart. Please consider donating today either by mail or online. You can scan the QR code on the screen there to make a donation. And let's close today's lecture by reading Shinran Shonin's words written on the chapter on practice of Kyogyoshinsho, which is his master work. Please join me in Gassho. The gentle practice is to say the name of the Tathagata of unhindered light. This practice, embodying all good acts and possessing all roots of virtue, is perfect and most rapid in bringing about birth. It is the treasure ocean of virtues that is suchness for true reality. For this reason, it is called great practice. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you everyone again for your time today. Please stay safe and healthy and dry. It feels like it's going to rain again. But thank you for joining us and have a good week. Thank you.
Thank you.